Welcome back, everybody, to the CONEXPO-CON podcast. It's been a while for me, at least. It is after the show right now, and I feel amazing. I want to thank our awesome sponsor, Komatsu. Their booth and their display was beautiful at the show. I definitely want to say that. With me today, I have my buddy who is with me at the show the entire time as well, too. The man from D2 Contracting, Dylan Mercier. Dylan, thanks for being on, buddy.
I appreciate you having me, buddy. I appreciate it greatly.
It's good. I'm finally glad that we got to speak to each other and to chat. And I know that you have a lot kind of going on in your plate. And also we went to the show together. So that's kind of some stuff that I'd want to get into with you as well first. But for everybody that's not me, get a little background info on you. I mean, you got your construction business going on. What do you do? Who are you?
Yeah, my name's Dylan Mercier. I own D2 Contracting. We've been in business since July of last year, so we are fairly new to the game. I myself have been doing this for the last 6-7 years, basically since I graduated high school. Whether that be, I've been all over the place: general contracting, site work, excavating, and even some painting and siding with my parents before then. So it's been a whirlwind, but I mean, I don't really know how much you want to get into it, but yeah, that's me. That's who I am.
Cool. Dope. So what led you to, I guess, to where you're at right now? I mean, I know that your parents were saying that they had a family business. So what were you doing before? Like, you were saying like July of last year, like what made you want to take that leap to go and kind of like do your own thing?
So I was running a land clearing business for somebody else in the area. I did that for a little over a year. I had a great time doing it, but I just always knew, at some point down the road, I was going to be off on my own. I just didn't know when. My parents always told me to go work for somebody before you just start, fresh, not knowing anything. So I kind of trusted their intuition there and just went off and found somebody to work for, kind of explained what I envisioned myself doing at the company, and it took off pretty quickly. We went from a company that wasn't doing a whole lot to a company that was doing a lot of land clearing and right-of-way clearing for municipalities, developers, all kinds of things. It was exciting. We still did a lot of residential work too, but that's kind of where I got my feet wet, I guess you could say. I'd always been around, equipment and stuff, working at a landscaping company growing up, but never really, I was never really in it. But the hardscaping and retaining walls and stuff that we did wasn't anything like I do today. But I learned a lot at that land clearing company, and I don't know, July, it was time. I knew that I was ready to do something else, and I wasn't really gung ho on land clearing anymore. It was a lot of work, a lot of downtime, a lot of maintenance. And it's a cutthroat market around us. So that's what kind of led me on to start my own thing. And now we do a lot of general site work, residential site work packages, everything from stripping the topsoil, digging the basement, hooking up the utilities, putting in the septic, all the way to the final grade and bringing in topsoil at the end. We also do a lot of underground utilities, water main work, sewer main work. I haven't really dabbled a whole lot with the storm yet, but we've got some projects coming up, so that'll change. But that's pretty much the rundown. Like I said, the land clearing thing just wasn't for me. It's really cool, but it's a lot of work, and it's not. I guess the one thing that drew me away from it is the fact that it wasn't mine. I think if it were mine and I had control, at the end of the day, it was my control. It would have been different, but it's just how things go, and it's how you learn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know. I feel like if somebody was like, "Hey, man, like, here's a massive land clearing project, and it'll work out," and if you had access to the machine, maybe you would do it now. I think what you said at the end is key. It wasn't your thing. It wasn't your business, and I think that's just kind of what it comes down to. Is just like the mentality of like having something that's yours, and it gives you more so of a reason, especially when you're wired like that. Because not everybody's wired like that, right? There's a lot of guys that don't want the responsibility, and we need those people as well too, right?
Yeah,
But
no, exactly.
someone like yourself or myself that wants to wake up every day and work for themselves and take on all the added stress and everything like that. Um, that's just your mentality going into it.
Yeah. What it boiled down to is the fact that I'm just completely unemployable. And I've known that for a long time. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I just and it's I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I like to be the one making the call, and I like that that's left up to me. I kind of like the stress. I like the chaos. It's exciting. It makes my day go around.
Yeah, you kind of have to really love the chaos when you're running a business, especially, I mean, like, it's actually interesting because we're at two different completely points in business, right? We're 55 years in business, you're a year in business, but yet we still in conversations with each other deal with the same problems, right? Whether it be other contractors underbidding you and doing the job for less, or not being able to find people or find good enough people. We have the same problems, not all, but most. And I think that that's interesting about the industry, is that it doesn't matter how kind of big or small you are. Like, that's what I enjoy about talking to you as well too, is it's kind of like we both have the same kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I'll come to you for. Um, and you give me totally different answers than something I'd be thinking in my head, because we're in two different positions. And I think that's vice versa too. There's some things I've probably told you along the way, like you're like, oh, I didn't really think of it like that. But it's definitely interesting. And you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, no, I've never actually taken advice from you, thought that it was good advice. I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I got some receipts.
I want to ask, because this was interesting the other day when we were talking about it. I don't know if it was on the phone or over text, but you were talking about how, I was saying like, oh, residential, commercial. And it's funny because I
Yeah.
meet a lot of people who like love, like for instance, I just hired like I have another cousin who's starting with us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's like, dude, like, I don't need to be in an office. Like, I just want to be on the ground in the bottom of a hole in a trench box, mud covered. And like, I feel like I'm a mixture of the both. Like, I like the office, but I also am more of a field guy. And I want to hear it from you. Like, what is it about like the sewer and water and just like that type of grimy, gritty, big machinery slinging dirt? Like, what do you like about that and the industry, I guess? Like, what's your love for it?
Maybe I wouldn't really say the danger involved, but just the fact that it's hard work, and it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that do not get into things like this because of how hard the work is. Like you said, how gritty you got to be to get down in that hole. You could be in a 30-foot hole working on a sewer main in the cities. And to some people it's normal, and to others it's like, holy cow, you're crazy. For me though, that's a really good question. It's I don't know. It's exciting. It's something new every day. And just to put it in perspective, we've been on a water main. There was a water main break in a mobile home park here in Brighton.
Is it on 8 Mile? Is it on
No,
8
it's
Mile?
not on 8 Mile.
Oh, it's not the
No,
one
no,
Eminem grew up in.
no.
Dang, dude. Dylan's from Detroit, so
Yeah, yeah. Shout out. Hopefully one day though. But no, that it's something new every day. And when I say that, like we went out there fully expecting to find a 4-inch main in a spot they, said it was in based off their historical data and their old as-built and drawings and stuff, and it wasn't there. So we had to cross gas, AT&T, Comcast, you name it, electrical, everything to try and find this thing. It took us 2 full days, even with the back truck, to finally find it and figure out what was going on. And lo and behold, nobody has recollection of it because it was done God knows how long ago. But there's a 4-inch main that runs under 2 trailers that we just had to cap at both ends and basically run 5 or 6 new services to all the new trailers that were hooked up on that. So every day we thought we'd finish. Like Friday, we were like, oh yeah, we're done. We go check the other trailers. Hey, you guys got water? No. So we're like, all right, we'll be back out here Monday. Yesterday we wrapped up. Last trailer, we're like, you guys got water? They're like, nope. We're like, all right, let's run one more service. So it's exciting. I don't know. It's a headache sometimes, but I like it. It's the chaos. It's fun.
yeah, I think it's like the grind, and for me, like, yeah, like everything that you're saying is you're explaining why, and you summarize it at the end as I like the chaos, because everything you're saying is chaos, right? It's like if there's something that they put in the ground, whether it be gas, internet, fiber optic, whatever, it was there, and you just kept coming back to it and doing it. And I think that it's just something that's kind of like instilled in you, especially in blue collar. Like, blue collar work is, something that it's either like you either love it or you hate it. Like you're either the person that's like looking at us going like, oh my God, I'd never do that job. Or you're the type of guy being like, oh, like I wish I was in the bottom of that hole right now, just slinging it with these guys and girls,
I'm usually in the machine, and there's times I'll catch myself jumping out of the machine and get down in the hole just to help the guys. And then they're like, what are you doing? Get back up in the machine. It's like, I just like to be everywhere. It's exciting.
Yeah, I end up just kind of being more of a burden to the guys really whenever I'm doing that. I'm just kind of like in the hole, getting in the way, and they're like, "Hey, man, like get out of here." uh, dude, let's talk about a little bit about ConExpo, man.
All right.
How did you find it? How did you like the show? I know that we were there. We were there for about 3.5 days. We saw as much as we thought that we could. I just think the sheer size of it is unbelievable, which again is like the whole more reason to be like, all right, well, I'm pumped for 2026 because I'm going to check out this thing that I didn't get to see that I wanted to really see. But what'd you think of the show? How'd you like it?
I loved it. I thought it was super fun. I think the biggest takeaway for me from it was the amount of hands I shook, the amount of, people I met. Cause it's crazy to kind of put a name to a face, or a face to a name. It's, and you can, chime in on this too. Like the amount of people we met when we were there was crazy. Which is great because networking is everything in our business, whether people want to admit it or not. But from the show standpoint, I think it was great. It's laid out really well. You do a lot of walking, but that's to be expected. And I'm beating a dead horse here because I've heard everybody say it. I've talked to that went, but you literally cannot see everything. It's impossible. I mean, just between our group, we probably saw three or four different, I guess exhibits you could say, because I know they were kind of mapped out everywhere. And then that last day I was there, I got a chance to go walk around some more, which was nice because I saw a lot of things I didn't even know was there. So it was exciting. But to see all that big equipment, I mean, there's nothing in our world that wasn't there. And I mean, everything from the smallest electric powered mini to a 390. It was cool. The cranes, everything else.
Yeah, I think it was super neat. And like you said, like it's like the people, like that was the coolest thing. Like even the people that were listening to the podcast, but people that were like, oh, dude, so I know you from TikTok or like social media and stuff like that. Like I think that that's the coolest thing. And like, I was saying to you, like, I can't wait. Like it drove me harder to like come back and really like nail down social media and like continuing on to do it. And I think that that's the coolest thing in our industry. And I think that that's why it's a really important time right now to kind of like be involved with social media. Now, like that's obviously how I met everybody listening. How I first met Dylan is like, I think we started posting about land clearing because we had a big project we were doing at the airport. And I remember like, I think you reached out to me or I reached out to you. I don't know. And you had a big Fecon mulcher. And I remember being like, damn, like that thing's badass, dude. And we just kind of talked from there. But again, like my point is it's social media. And I know that if somebody from a different industry was listening to this conversation right now, they'd be like, you guys are still talking about like how social media is important. But honestly, it was so cool. And I think it's so important in construction because I still think if you're a company or you can add value in construction in the industry on social media, then you're going to find success on it, whether that be you wanting to be an influencer or just branding your company or growing your company or just growing a following online, whatever. I think that there's so much opportunity in the construction industry right now, especially because like bring a different style into it. Like now on social media, on like different platforms, you see like guys like throwing up different stuff. Like I remember when I started doing a little bit of different music, people were like, whoa, we've never seen this before. Like, what is this? But now I'm seeing guys innovate and be so creative on it. And it's just so cool going to a space like CONEXPO and meeting those people. And it's like, and chatting with them about it and be like, dang, like you saw that video, or like them recognizing certain points of it. So yeah, like what's your take on social media and the value of it? Because like, again, that's where we first met, and I know that you used to do a lot of it and you want to do more of it now, but what's your take on that?
In the last 2 years being on social media, I've made some of my best friends on it. And that probably also sounds crazy. That's like, one of your buddies like,
Would you
oh, yeah,
call them your
met a girl.
BFFs?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
100%.
wow.
But I mean, as far as social media goes, there's so many different ways to do it. And that was also insightful too while we were there, being able to go to some of those talks. Like, for instance, the one that you guys were involved with towards the end of the show with Matt from American Pavement and Jimmy Starbuck and Missy and I can't
Kelly.
remember the other.
Katie Crane.
Katie, that was super interesting because all you guys kind of do social media a different way, and there's no right way to do it. It's whatever kind of builds that traction and gets you to the next level. And a lot of people are interested in other things, so like there's so much of it out there, and if you can kind of just get people engaged and get them on your pages, it's game over after that. But from a social media standpoint, I really, if you're not doing it, it's just I don't know, what planet you live on at this point. Cause even finding like help, like some of your best guys have came from social media
past year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Which is wild. And I hope to someday be at that point where I can utilize social media to find people. I've tried, I've definitely had people hit me up, but we're just not ready. We're not a big enough company to do something like that, to take on a bunch of guys off the internet. But one day I really hope to utilize that as like one of our biggest, takeaways from social media is to find those quality candidates. Cause that's the biggest thing. Without quality candidates, I'm nothing and my company's nothing. And that goes a long way.
Yeah. The last time that we were together, IRL here in Ottawa, I remember we were talking on something to these other guys online, and I remember we were going on about LinkedIn. And it's kind of funny, it came full circle. I remember, you guys were like, oh, LinkedIn's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, I hate LinkedIn. I think it's stupid. I think it's the most irrelevant platform to be on. You're wasting your time. So at the beginning of this year in December, skip ahead now, December, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw, I got some really good high quality photos. I'm going to throw some projects that I'm pretty proud of. And I think it was 4 days later, I had the CEO of a massive company, LinkedIn message me, whatever you want to call it, DM me on there. And he's like, hey man, he's like, I got 50 acres of bush. Like, do you want to come mulch it with your mulcher? And I was like, no, damn.
You had to tuck your tail between your legs.
Yeah. And it was like, I'll always admit when I'm wrong. So you were definitely right about that one with the LinkedIn. You found success on that, right?
Yeah, some of my best clients to date have came from LinkedIn, whether that, was me working, for other people, going out and finding the work, or just with my company alone. Like I two guys I work for significantly like came from LinkedIn, which is wild. And it's crazy to think that a platform like LinkedIn has now made me money, and I pay like the, $50 a month or whatever for the premium. So you can see who views your profile.
I was thinking about that. Is it worth it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause like I can see who views my profile, and if it's anybody, anybody around my area. So like if they view my profile, I'll instantly just connect with them. And it seems to work. And there's a couple other things that you can do with the premium. I haven't caught on too much yet, but I think the biggest takeaway for me for the premium is the fact that you can see who views your profile, because it's cool to see who's looking at you, because sometimes it's competitors, sometimes it's, someone you might do work for sometime soon. So I don't know. I just like that.
How do you deal with competitors? Like, how are you dealing with
Me?
competitors? Yeah. Like, are you friendly with them? Are you like, keep your friends close and enemies closer? Like, you got any people that you want to like not see here anymore? Like, what's going on?
No, I take their scraps.
Yeah.
I eat that up. I take all the work that they don't want. And right now, any competitor I can, and at the end of the day, yes, they are a competitor, but any competitor I can develop a relationship with and get on their side and let them know, like, hey, if there's some work out there that you guys don't want to take on, one, because it's just, the quality of work isn't there, the money's not there, or even three, like it's just a hard job that a lot of people don't want to tackle. We're young, dumb. We'd love to tackle it. So let us. But I mean, literally some of the well, I mean, two of the companies that have really helped me along the way is solely, I mean, they're at the end of the day, yes, they're competitors, but they feed me work like it's going out of style. And it's really helped me and my company and my guys. It's helped us, kind of boost to the next level. So it's, I don't really get behind the whole like, don't talk to the competitors, don't give them information. Like the more information I can share with somebody and the more information they can reciprocate back, I think the longer it goes for both parties.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I was chatting with somebody a while ago and they're like, "Oh, like can you explain the secret sauce to like, like what you're doing with your business or anything like that?" And I'm just like, "There's no secret sauce, man. I'm just like, this is what I do and this is how I do it." And yeah, I just feel like people, it's like an outdated way of thinking. But it's like, well, I'm not going to tell people how we do that or what software we use to do this or our take on something like this or how did I manage to do that? Because like, man, like, I mean, you can all learn something from somebody. At the end of the day, there's enough work to go around for everybody. Like, yeah, sometimes, it's like, dang, like this guy took this job on me. But yeah, I feel like keep your friends close and enemies closer, but also like they don't have to be your enemies. You guys can work together as well too and still get stuff done.
100%. I literally wouldn't be able to do a lot of the work I do without my competitors because they're the ones who've been renting me equipment and trucks. And yeah, it's helped me immensely.
So how does your business model work? You just talked about renting and stuff like that. So how does it work? So what you D2, I know you have like a truck and you got a company truck, you got an employee, he's got a company visa. Like I know you got some stuff going on. When you get loaded up for a job, you call your local rental place. Like how's it working? Because this is good knowledge, dude, for the guys that are trying to get into it.
No, of
like,
course.
And they're like, man, I don't have 200 grand to spend on an excavator. Like, because again, who does? So
no, yeah,
let's hear it.
It's very hard to come by. Right now, again, going back to what I just said, my biggest savior, the last 6 months is one of the companies I do a lot of work for. They have a lot of equipment that sits around their yard they don't use very often, and I've pretty much had free reins to it the past 6-7 months, which is again like helped me crazy. But I use every avenue possible. Like there's guys, and this might sound crazy, but there's guys who rent skids on Facebook Marketplace. There's a website called Rubble, which I just recently rented from. I don't know if it's in Canada, but I know it's in the States. And I basically, I'm renting a Cat 306 for what the guy's payment is for the next 3 months. And it's like, it's kind of a no brainer for me because at the end of the day, it's not my piece of equipment. I don't have to worry about the payments come, January, February, because that's when it gets tough. But we just bought our first skid steer. We got a Cat 259, $1,200 on it.
Did you tell me this already?
No, I don't think I've told anybody. I just signed the paperwork yesterday.
Today? Yesterday?
Yesterday, yep.
Good for you. How many hours are on it?
1,200.
Oh, dang.
It's a 2021 D3. Yep. It's got 3 years of warranty left. 3 years or 3,000 hours. But that was the one thing that was killing us. Like I'm okay with the excavator rentals because I can track them down pretty easily just between CAT and all my other equipment manufacturers and those third-party websites. And I found a smoking deal on that 306 for the next 3 months. But like the biggest like thorn in my side the last 7-8 months has been a skid because the skid rentals will eat you up alive, chew you up and spit you back out. Like it was costing me $300, $350 a day, depending on who I was renting from. And a skid steer payment's like $1,500 a month. So, and yeah, the week rentals were $1,500 a week. So we're excited about that because that'll help us, from a numbers standpoint, not having to throw so much money at rental on the skids. But as far as like the minis go and some of your bigger excavators, like I like renting those because, out at this job we're doing right here in Brighton, I need a 305. So we've had a 305 out there, but like the next job I'm doing this coming week, we need a 315 out there. So I have access to basically everything. I just, you take on the rent and you bill for it. I've never had anybody question it and it's worked up until this point. So it's, it's not as bad as people make it seem sometimes. Renting is not fun, especially paying those bills after you have like for instance the 315 I've had for the last 2 months. I'm not looking forward to paying that bill here in the next couple of weeks because it's astronomical, but it's, again, you bill for it all and you make it work. Um, so it's not as hard as it seems. And I don't think it's a lot of people, like I said, look down on it, but I like it because I have access to, 40 different pieces of equipment at any time.
Yeah, so you're utilizing connections, like you said, the first thing, like one of the guys that does kind of the same thing you're doing, right? So you're utilizing connections, and then you're also utilizing rental and like third party rentals and stuff like that, which is super cool. And you see a lot more of that now, especially in the industry, is these apps that are kind of tracking down. Because I mean, you're saying a lot of like specific models of excavators, but realistically, you don't care. Just give me a 15-ton, give me a 5-ton. Don't care what model or brand it is, as long as it's a good deal, good rate, and it moves dirt and does what I need it to. Let's kind of just get it done.
Yeah, and one thing that's helped me too is since I've been around this for the last couple of years, I've been able to develop relationships with salesmen and a lot of different equipment manufacturers too. Just even when I wasn't on my own, and they has helped. Like, there's been times where the week rent is up on a machine, and I'm just like, dude, can I have 2 more days? And he's like, yeah, dude, no problem. And like, that's huge because I was just talking about this with one of my employees. I was like, what would we do if we didn't have our cat salesman or our Alta salesman? Like, because it would be crazy the bill I'd get, because if you don't have somebody on your side, like, at the end of the day, those equipment manufacturers probably aren't going to help you. You got to have one of those salesmen on your side and develop a relationship with them, because they'll help you out and they care about you, because at the end of the day, they know at some point you're going to buy a piece of equipment from them.
No, yeah, 100%. What was it with the skid steer? Well, how come you were like, okay, this is the piece I need? Like, obviously the machinery, like if, people don't think too vague on it, like obviously communication and rental and stuff, but I'm more interested on like, what was it with the skid steer versus the excavator? Like, is there just more work with what you're doing for a skid steer versus the excavator, or?
Yeah, it was just we were just throwing away way too much money, and a lot of times we would do a job like without a skid just because we didn't want to, pay the rent on that. So
Why do you think skid prices are so high?
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say they're super. And it's because if you look at like a mini rental, like this mini I've got for $3,200 a month for the next 3 months, like, to me, it's a little bit higher than what I anticipate a payment would be for a 6-ton mini, but it's not that much more. And the fact that I don't have to worry about maintenance or anything, like, I'll eat that cost. But the skid, it was just we'd we would go 3-4 days on a job, and then the last day bring it in to do cleanup. It's just one of those things. It's nice to have. It's a jack of all trades. It's there's a lot you can do with one, and it'll be nice to kind of have to not worry about. And that's another thing too. Like, I was spending so much money sending guys to go pick equipment up. Like, even if we started at 6 a.m., by the time you get to the rental plate, by the time you get to Michigan Cat or Alta or wherever, and get the machine loaded and talk to your salesman or whoever or the yard guys, it's 9 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, we've lost 2 hours of the day we could be working. So it'll be nice to just have the excavator dozer there, and then just show up with the skid, because really we can't really move anything unless it's under 6 ton anyways. So
Yeah, I hear you, man. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, right? How do you guys have frost laws? That's what I meant to ask you. Okay, are they over?
So this year they did not go in effect for 90% of the state because we never really got frost. It was kind of one of those one-off years. Some of your bigger counties and municipalities turned them on, but for the most part, and it helped because the month they were on, the county we were working in wasn't a problem. Now, it would have been different had we gone 20 miles south, but we pushed that job off on purpose just because even between us moving our equipment, getting equipment there, and then trucking, like, hauling 33% of the load is costly for the customer too. So I just kind of let the guy know, hey, we're going to push this off because you're not going to want to pay this bill.
Yeah. Listen, you mentioned earlier that, you're like, oh, then it's like 9 a.m. and then I'm at, this machinery place. And It made me think about the amount of hours that you have to put in, and then the amount of hours that you're putting in currently right now in a week. I mean, you're probably doing insane. Like you're going 1 a.m., 2 a.m. most days because you're doing field and then office at night. And I know a big conversation in the industry right now is like work-life balance and all that stuff. And I know that it's geared definitely more towards employees, obviously. But I guess for the people that kind of want to start to do their own thing, like having a hard work ethic and like working harder is definitely in your, like, you have to be doing that. So like what are you kind of putting in for hours, and like what keeps you motivated to do that? Obviously, yeah, just kind of get into that a little bit more. I like that topic.
So I joke with everybody around here that I'm buddies with, or some of the other companies I work with. I have two shifts. I work second shift and first shift. First shift, we're out in the field doing the work, and if I get lucky and um, the job is doable for my guys, and I can kind of take off and not have to work till 2 a.m. that night, I will. But majority, probably 95% of the time, that's not the case, and that's okay. I'm all right with it. What drives me is just really it's people I look up to, and a lot of these companies that I strive to be one day. And you're not going to get there just kind of sitting by the wayside. The work doesn't come to you. You got to go out there and get it. You got to chase it. And if that means sitting in front of the computer from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., it just has to be done. What drives me though is energy drinks and coffee right now. It's the only way I can get to that point and then turn around and wake up at 4:35 a.m. the next day. It's hard. There's some days where I'm like, I don't want to do this, but it's just something in me that I'm just like, man, I want to do this because one day I want to be like you or some of our other buddies, or like some of these companies I do work with. I don't always want to be, and this is no shot to anybody that is just an owner operator, a couple guys and a couple pieces of equipment. That's not what I want to be. I want to be some, giant moving machine that just cannot be stopped. And you got to put in the work to get there. Nobody made any of these companies off luck and just sitting back and relaxing. Maybe a little bit of luck, but not so much relaxing. And if that means you got to work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, you got to do it. And I knew that going into it, and I took it. I just took the bull by the horns and got after it. And I've made it this far, and who knows? Let's see how far I can keep going until either in what would be the, I don't know how to, sleep deprivation takes me, or something just crazy like that. But I don't know. It's hard, but you got to do it.
Okay, so you're mentioning, kind of seeing where it takes you. And obviously, actually before this podcast started, I was mentioning about losing my hair, and like, it's actually crazy. I lose hair when I'm back stressed at work, and like, just like right now, especially, right? Because you're like, we're just coming out of winter. We need to get cash flow back in the business. We're lining up projects. We're pricing lots. Hopefully we're getting lots. It's just a super stressful time right now, especially to be being in construction. And it's funny, when I went away on holidays in Florida, we came back and I remember sitting on the couch and my wife was like, your hair's growing back in the front. And I'm like, wow, awesome. Like, we just got back from vacation. And then now here it is, losing it again. But that all in turn comes with a lot of the conversation that we've been having today, which is like working your butt off, getting everything done, being out there, loving the grind. And you were kind of talking about where will this take me? Where do you want to take it? Like, where do you see yourself in 10, 15, 20 years? Like, is D2 massive? Is D2 20 guys? Are you doing 20 million? Are you doing 200 million? Are you doing 2 million? 200,000? Who knows?
Me personally, when I started this, I made a 5-year plan to do 10 million after the 5th year. That's my goal. Who knows if, and I told everybody this when I started. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if I sound absolutely insane. It's what I want to do, and I'm going to strive for it. And if I get there, great. If not, we're going to try harder and get there the next year. Where do I want to be though? I want to build a company, with as many men and women as possible that want to be here. I want to, make it a place that people want to show up to work every day, because there's a lot of places, and this goes, this is everywhere. It's not just Michigan. It's not just the Midwest. It's the entire US. It's probably the world. But like, I want a place where people want to come to work. They want to, work hard, and they want to, feel like they've done something at the end of the day. And the only way you can attract people like that is to have them buy in, and give them a salary or a truck or whatever it may be. You got to make it worth their while too. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm doing this for myself. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, we are doing this for ourselves and our families, and hopefully one day I have a family to work harder for. But um, I I wouldn't be anything without the people that help me every day, and the guys I have now. And I hope that I'm, as a whole, we're all doing well in 10, 15 years. And where we want to be, I really like to mainly focus on infrastructure. America's infrastructure, especially, is not so great. The things I find under the ground every day on a daily basis is insane. I don't know how, like the quality of our drinking water, and it's crazy. So I think that's a world that's never going to stop. We're always going to be, technology is always changing. We're always going to find new ways to do things, and that's one thing that kind of drives me, because I'm just infatuated by it. I want to see where it goes, because, you know, there's, and I know this for a fact because we did a water main break there a couple of weeks ago. There's a city very close to me that still has wood water mains. It's like, it's crazy, but that's because the city is a very popular city. They have a very, the nightlife there, and everything is just too much for them to rip the whole road up and replace all that. And if it functions, it works. But you got to also think about the people that live in that town too. Like, I can't imagine the water quality is great. I know it gets tested and treated and stuff, but still, to me, it just, I don't know. There's something about it. But I would mainly like to stick to infrastructure, and not so much highway work, but a lot of water, sewer, and storm utilities, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what you love, right? And you kind of were mentioning like about family and how like that's important, and you want to see like your employees do well, and like obviously maybe one day have a family of yourself, if you finally ask your girlfriend to marry you, who knows?
Yeah. My little brother just got engaged on Easter. I don't need any more heat, dude.
Dang, dude, that must be awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like,
But you do it for that reason, and I feel like obviously it's good to have goals like what you're saying. Like, we have those same ones when we have roundtables as well too. We're talking like, okay, revenue wise, employee wise, where do we see ourselves? But I'm also a genuine believer that like you can have that mindset, but I also think if you have the mindset of like, okay, like I want to see like my employee do better, I want to see like how can I make it better for my guys, how can like my like management in here, like I always tell them like, guys, like we like this is us, like I want to see you guys do better. Like, this isn't just so I can stuff my pockets full of money and live in a crazy house with a Ferrari and a Lamborghini. I don't give a crap about all that. I genuinely want to see everyone do really well. I like nice things, and I'm okay to that's fine. But I think if you have that mindset as well too, then like it will happen. You know what I mean? Like
yep.
you put that energy out there, I feel like you get a lot of that back. And like I live my life a lot like that. Like, I believe in like karma, like you do good things happen back to you. Like, if you're a person that's constantly causing drama or stirring up crap in your community or with other people, like that just won't get you anywhere, man. So like, I think being a
No.
really good rounded person really helps.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that, those kind of people only make it so far. They'll do well for a while, but it all comes to an end, and it usually crashes and burns. And we don't have plans to do that. It's something, it's way more deep rooted than that. I care about people. I care about people's health, and, genuinely, I want to see others around me do well too. So it's a mindset you have to have if you want to run a successful business. Cause if you don't, it may work for a while, but it's not going to work forever.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about, like with our business, like right now I'm currently drawing up brainstorming stuff within core management of like, what can I do with the guys and girls here to like make like their lives better. You know what I mean? Like what info can I give them, or what courses or training or something can I give them that they're not just going to think is super lame and boring or whatever, but maybe they will. But maybe if I at least push them on to that, and it's like, hey guys, like I'm still going to pay you today, we're all still going to get paid, but instead of going doing this job, like, you know what, it's Friday, we're going to stay in. I got this person coming in, they're going to talk to us about financial planning, they're going to talk to us about, like, you know, like how to invest your money, or how to save money, or how to look at your spending, or how to budget. And I feel like that's an aspect of other businesses and places that they don't do that stuff. And I think that that's why you kind of, in order to make it a better place to work, you kind of have to do that sort of thing. Because I was thinking about that the other night, and it just was like, man, you got to do stuff to like help them. And then there will be a percentage of people that'll be like, oh, I don't care that he's helping me with this. But there'll be that percentage of being able to retain people being like, oh, my employer, like, dude, like they actually, like, it helped a lot. Like they care about us. They're investing in us. This is super cool. You agree with that?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
Okay, cool. No, I just think that it's really important as far as like, you know, when you're building your business up too, is like making sure that your employees are looked after and giving them tools to succeed in life as well too, rather than just the whole like, all right, come on, because there's a lot of talk about that right now, right? Because retention's really hard right now, finding good people is really hard right now. So it's like, how can you make your business up? And it's a tough conversation. How do I make my business a better place for people to work? But at the same time, I'm running a business and I don't have all this excess funds to do this. But sometimes we spend excess funds for, like, you know, maybe training that it's like, well, how about we take this training and we just supplement it with something like this for like personal growth for the guys and girls? Okay, that sounds a little bit better. That might be better for them. I just think it's an interesting conversation to like to have with people, to be like, in order to add value to their lives.
Yeah, and the best way to do that is, and you know, it's not so much complicated and as hard as it seems. I mean, you at the end of each year, you take a look at your numbers and go through your overhead percentage, and you know, if you can throw if you're doing 20 million and you can throw 2% of that overhead percentage into, you know, investing in your people, that's way more money than you'll ever need, depending on how many people you have. But you know, there's definitely avenues to attack that, you know, that side of things, and it's not as hard as it seems. And I think a lot of people, you know, greed gets to them, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know. It's just, it's not me, and it never has been me. I've always been a giver. I'm not a taker.
I'm glad. I'm happy for that for you, man. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
true though. I wanted to touch on one thing at the end here about, like, obviously there's a lot of talk about the economy and the way things are going. And I always like getting other business owners' inputs on, like, you know, how are things looking down there? Are you guys still super busy? Are people still throwing around money? Are people being a little more conservative with their money? What's going on?
I think people are throwing around like it's going out of style. You know, you're always going to have the customers who, you know, don't want to spend a lot of money. But if the biggest thing, and especially in like the residential market, and that's one thing I've, you know, and I don't want to, you know, toot my own horn, but it's really easy to, you know, read somebody from a residential sales standpoint. If you're, you know, whether you're going out to quote a septic or a retaining wall, or, you know, a drainage project or just a grading project, it's like, listen, how much money do you have and what do you want done? I'll make it work. And I do it every day. There's always different ways to do things, and there's always a way to, you know, find a solution to their problems for the money they have. Now, if they have $500, $1,000, maybe not so much, but you know, I don't really see it. I can tell you one thing, you know, just from the municipal standpoint, that work has not slowed down at all. I think there were more bid lettings put out this spring than there were last spring, and I thought last spring there were a lot. Um, Now that goes into play with, you know, it's a lot more deep rooted than that. It has a lot to do with politics, but the budget that's set forward is pretty high here, and they spend a lot of money on trying to, you know, and our governor actually, she's really pushing infrastructure in the roads and stuff. So that's, you know, I haven't seen a slowdown in it now. But you know, there's a lot of people that would probably say otherwise around me, but you've got to be chasing the work through the right avenues and finding it in the right spots. And there's some things I can think of right off the top of my head from finding work that just wouldn't work right now. But I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I don't really pay attention to it. I just keep going.
That's good. That's an important thing. I think that's like a good summary of my conversation today with you is like, I don't stop. I just kind of keep going. And like, I think that's a really important takeaway for people, especially guys, even if you don't have a business. Like, I wish that you could instill that in a lot of employees' mindset too, right? It's like, hey man, there's a huge opportunity to grow here at this business. You just got to work your butt off. But the problem is maybe that employee got ruined at another place where they did do that and they never got rewarded for it. That's the crappy thing, is when you have an employee like that, that's like, man, I did that at my last job and like I got stumped, So I think that's kind of, yeah, it's a good takeaway of like the attitude of like work hard and like, you'll get rewarded for it. Yes, it's a lot of work up front and it's a grind, but at the end of the day, you just got to be the type of person that really likes that stuff too.
Yeah, and this is just a side note to that. First job I ever had when I was kind of a late bloomer because I played so many sports in high school. I think the first job I had was the summer of I
You
was
did ultimate
probably
frisbee,
16 or
right?
17. Yeah, ultimate frisbee and golf.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but my first employer was my cousin. At the time, he owned a startup landscaping company, and now they do freaking, I don't know, probably 10, 12 million a year. They're huge. But at the time, and I was just a little stuck up brat pretty much. And, for the most part, I'll always get things that I wanted. And my cousin told me, he put me on some job where I was just like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, listen, dude, good things come to those who wait. Just stick it out, do it. And for some reason, that's always stuck with me. And it's true. I mean, I hung out, I worked for them for the next 2 summers and ended up doing the last summer before I went off to college. And finally, I was running that skid steer on the, the new yard installs and the retaining walls. And I was like, it's true. So you definitely have to put in that work before you can just get to, be the top guy or the number one dog. It's not, this in this industry, especially, you have to put the time in before you can really just, shine. But I don't know, it's exciting to go out and do something new every day and learn something.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. You're totally right on that. You nailed it. Drop the mic after that, Dylan. Boom. Dylan, dude, we had an awesome time at CONEXPO. I'm always a joy talking to you. I loved having you on today, having a talk. Thank you for being here, man. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it greatly. I had a good time today. I look forward to 2026.
Yeah, me as well too, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the CONEXPO-CON podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Komatsu. And also make sure to check us out anywhere that podcasts are and search CONEXPO on YouTube. And if you want to see the visual, check out our beautiful faces. Thank you.